Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see so many names entering the chat. Thank you, everyone that's made time to join our webinar today. It's great to see so many of you here. I am Isabel and I work in the international office of the university. So essentially, a big part of my job is to help students decide which course to study, which housing to live in, and all different elements that they might need to know before joining the university. The region that I normally cover is everything from Turkey, east, across through Central Asia and down into South Asia. So I've been fortunate to travel, various different countries across the world. My job today is to sort of introduce and facilitate all of the questions and the presentations. So without further ado, I will hand over to our guests, to our speakers, to introduce themselves today. So first of all, over to you, Demet, please.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us today. My name is Demet Dinler, and I am an assistant professor of anthropology and international development at the School of Global Studies. And I am also the convener for the master program in social development in our school.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Priya Pagel. I graduated from the MA Food and Development in 2021. And actually, I've been working at the FAO, which is the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, ever since I graduated from Sussex. And I'm here today to talk a little bit about the experience of studying at Sussex and then working after.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tala Hassoun. I'm Director of Strategy and Planning at CARE International, which is an international humanitarian and development organization working on some of the world's most challenging contexts and focusing on saving lives and defeating poverty. I started my journey with Sussex about 10 years ago, sitting exactly where some of you are sitting, asking similar questions that you're probably asking now about what do I want to do and how do I get there? So I'm really glad to be back, and I hope the conversation today is helpful and that we can answer some of your questions. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And just to say that if anyone does have questions as we go along, we'll make sure we leave plenty of time for them. So if you can pop them in the Q&A box or in the chat box, and then I'll make sure that we cover them at the end. But over to you, Demet.
Thank you, Isabel. I think everyone is able to hear my voice. Today, I will be introducing you our core MA programs taught at the School of Global Studies at the University of Sussex. Why study at Sussex? We have a fantastic campus and city experience, and Brighton has been named as the happiest city in the UK and 11th in the world. So we have like wonderful colleagues and students who really enjoy a great time, both academically but also socially in our beautiful city. Our teaching is very much focusing on you and your personal needs with small class sizes so that we can engage with our students in a close and way to address their needs. We have a very multidisciplinary focus. Our research and teaching team comes from a variety of different backgrounds, and we have such a diverse body of students, 400 postgraduates from almost 80 countries in the world. International development at the University of Sussex sits in the School of Global Studies, but we also collaborate with the Institute of Development Studies. We have 4 departments: international development, international relations, anthropology, and geography, and we benefit from the expertise of colleagues across those 4 departments. And I'm very pleased to say that in 10 years in a row, we have been selected as #1 in the world for development studies, according to University World Rankings, together with Institute of Development Studies. We are also one of the oldest development studies programs in the Global North. Our researchers make a difference in the world. Here you see a selected list of how our, sorry about that. Yeah, apologies for this inconvenience. Yeah, you see examples from our researchers about how they work closely with social movements, communities, governments, and advocacy organizations. Some of our researchers have done collaborative research with indigenous rights organizations and supported the recognition of their language as official language by the governments, as in the case of Peru. Some of our researchers have contributed to the writing of the Treaty on Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation with the United Nations. Other researchers have worked with governments and Clean Clothes Campaign to support the compensation of the workers' rights in the following the Rana Plaza disaster. So we have lots of expertise which you can benefit from if you study with us. How we see the world at international development. I think we would all agree that it's a moment where we are tackling very important global challenges, and our programs are committed to social, environmental, and the global justice. We enact what we call critical hope in our teaching, research, and development practice, which means we analyze critically the mainstream development policies and organizations. But at the same time, we not only criticize, but we also cultivate some hope about how we can build alternative development policies to tackle those challenges. And many of our researchers work closely with policymakers, practitioners, and social movements, or, as in several cases, including myself, have been themselves practitioners and activists. What are the advantages of being an ID postgraduate? You will benefit from a vibrant research community. We have the famous Sussex Development Lectures, but also several seminars organized by our diverse research centers, from the famous Sussex Center for Migration Research to the Center for Rights Reparations and Anti-Colonial Justice. We focus on building employability skills, both in our teaching and in our research dissertations, and you will have numerous opportunities for engagement. Priya has just talked about Food and Agricultural Organization where she works. This year, for example, this organization has offered particular placements for our students, from which our students benefited from. The global studies community in our school is also very diverse and vibrant. We have weekly academic and professional skills workshops. We appreciate that many of our students are coming from very different backgrounds, both from different countries, but from different academic disciplines. So you may not have any background in international development per se. That's exactly why we are teaching key reading skills, research skills, academic skills, employability skills in our curriculum. We have a lot of MA socials where the MA program students are building a community on their own. We have an annual MA student conference where you will hear from different students, professional experiences and research experiences as well. Each MA program I will talk about specific examples of each MA program, but in general, they are all structured around 2 core modules in the autumn term and core academic skills workshops, which is 0 credit, but anyone can take it. And in the spring term, we have optional modules from across schools, from a variety of interdisciplinary and wonderful specialization modules, and you can select them according to your own areas of interest and your needs to specialize. We have a research methods and professional skills modules where you will be learning a lot of research skills for your dissertation, but also professional skills for your future career. And in the summer term, we have dissertation and a dissertation with placement. The dissertation is a 10,000-word research project on a topic of your choosing, supervised by an expert in our school. If you choose a dissertation with placement, you will have a 3-month work placement linked to your dissertation, where you will have a work experience in an organization specializing in an area of development, which will be supported by our fantastic career and employability skills team. Again, employability skills are very much embedded in our core modules. For example, many development organizations would like to see candidates who have qualitative and quantitative research skills, like United Nations or World Bank and others. If you want to work in areas which is much more specialized in, for example, climate change, you would have workshops on climate data analysis. If you would like to work with social movements, communities, and NGOs, we also teach how to design development projects from below, how to shape policymaking, how to write policy briefs. We also have a fantastic careers hub where you can learn how to improve your CVs, how to attend networking events, dedicated to international development. We also have a new postgraduate student consultancy program where students work on consultancy projects and practice those skills as well. Let me tell you for a few minutes about my research and professional background to show you an example of how we operate in the School of Global Studies and how we support your future. I am an anthropologist of development who works about how we can transform the existing global supply chains to make them environmentally and socially more sustainable. But while I do that research, I also pay particular attention to what we can learn from community-based solutions to tackle inequalities in supply chains, which are often omitted or discarded by top-down development projects. And I do bring a lot of my own ethnographic research to my teaching spaces, similar to my colleagues. For example, one of my first research projects was about looking into the global supply chain of recyclable materials. I worked closely with waste-picking communities in Turkey, and I was wondering why the price of scrap metals collected by those waste-picking communities was set independent of them. In other words, London Metal Exchange, which you see on that slide where I conducted my research, was setting the price for the scrap metal that waste pickers are collecting. Unfortunately, the value generated by the recycling economy benefits little waste pickers and benefits more large traders. So I was asking the question of how we can change and transform this power relation so that the ones who work the hardest get more from this overarching value. In another research project, I worked closely with farming communities in the cut flower sector, and this time paid close attention to the way in which farmers' cooperatives have developed their own multiple trading platforms to create fair prices for their members. This was a positive example where the farming community's agency can make a difference by building their own alternative structures, economic structures and markets. So I bring all these community-based solutions to my teaching, and I'm asking how we can learn from them and disseminate them to other sectors and countries. My current project is looking at fishing communities and fishing economies in the UK. And once again, I'm working closely with communities by asking the question of how we can co-design climate and social justice solutions by working together with communities rather than imposing policies from above. Another aspect of my teaching is to bring my past professional and activist experience. I have worked in the past as strategic researcher and transnational campaign coordinator for global labor organizations. And I also worked closely with women's cooperatives while I was working for feminist NGOs. And I supported the building of several labor movements in the informal sector and supported their policy advocacy by working with governments and the ILO. All these experience comes to the teaching space because I'm teaching skills to design advocacy campaign, development policies, writing policy briefs, similar to several other colleagues who are bringing their expertise and practical skills to their own teaching spaces. So now I want to talk a little bit more about the specific content of the master programs. The first program that I will be talking about is Environment, Development and Policy, who is convened by my colleague Chris Heskett, who worked with communities on environmental justice in the case of Mexico. So he brings expertise from Latin America. As you might acknowledge, climate change is one of the biggest challenge in the world, affecting disproportionately the most vulnerable communities in the global south. So this program aims to explore those challenges, bring greater expertise about how to resolve them, and also help you pursue career prospects in the area of environmental sustainability and justice. The course is organized around key core modules in the autumn with optional modules in the second term. So you specialize by working closely about political economy of the environment, and then you can choose different options from the set of modules which are available to you in the spring term, and you see some examples. So you can still choose modules around climate change and environment, but you can complement them by also choosing some modules from other areas of development to have a broader interdisciplinary perspectives. Our students are, some examples from the dissertations written by our students include green climate finance, plastic recycling in Zambia, and climate adaptation in Brazil. Past students have even managed to publish their dissertations in reputable journals, as you can see on that slide. Recent EDP students have worked in donor agencies, in private consultancy, in the UN system, in different areas, because as you know that master degrees are essential to get key development jobs in contemporary world. So it's important to have this kind of degree to be able to work in particular development organizations. The second program that I will be talking about is Gender Violence and Conflict, convened by my wonderful colleague, Dr. Suda Pereira, who is an expert on peace building with special reference to the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Gender Violence and Conflict is a specialized MA program which allows students to engage with theoretical and policy debates around the relationship between gender, sex violence, and conflict. As you may know, conflict and violence affects a lot women in the global south and beyond, and we are offering interdisciplinary perspectives so that you can work in areas of human rights, security, and gender-based violence. And key topics that we explore are hegemonic masculinities and militarism, the root causes of gender-based violence, and contemporary development interventions in the area of gender and conflict. Similar to environmental development policy, in the autumn term, you have core modules which are related to our specialization area, gender violence in war and peace, and feminist approaches to global development. And then you can choose optional modules together with research methods and professional skills. And you can see here some optional modules. Those are, of course, indicative, subject to change in due course, because we are constantly improving our options. And you can see again a set of broader development modules together with more specialized modules on gender, doing gender in theory and practice, violence and insecurity, queer, feminist, and anti-colonial perspectives. There are some examples on this slide about some GVC dissertations, as you can see, and they range in different case studies from Algeria and Colombia to France and other countries. And you can see that those dissertations are shaped by particular interests developed by our students. With their MA, many GVC students, again, can take NGO and government roles in different countries. UK, Sri Lanka, Nigeria, Mozambique. They can also work in the area of violence prevention in the UK, in the US, but also they can also stay in the academia by pursuing PhDs to specialize more. Our students always give wonderful feedback about our programs. And especially for GVC, students always emphasize the culture of care and collective empowerment, which is developed among the students, which brings critical hope for their future. The third program that I will be talking about is the MA Human Rights, which is convened by my colleague Julia Hartvigsson, who has expertise of human rights in the post-war context with special reference to Guatemala. MA Human Rights explores the historical origins, philosophical foundations, expansions, practice, and possible futures of human rights. You'll gain specialist knowledge in the field of human rights with a distinctive interdisciplinary and critical approach. Topics include advocacy, social justice, the relationship between rights and culture, international human rights organizations, children's rights, minority rights, and indigenous rights, amongst others. Similar to the previous two programs, we have core modules in the autumn, human rights and the politics of culture, and human rights and global justice. And then in the spring, you once again have a variety of optional modules together with research methods and professional skills before your dissertation writing. And here you can see the variety of options available to our human rights students. Once again, different modules on development, but also the ones which are more specific to human rights. Previous dissertations topics includes blaming the survivor, examining the claim rationale and effects of victim blaming in India, or persistence of discrimination and violence against LGBT people, analysis of root causes of homophobia in Georgia, and you can see the others on the slides. Once again, the range of the dissertation topics is broad, the case studies are broad, and we are doing our best to support our students in their dissertation journey while they work on these topics. After the MA Human Rights, our students went on to pursue a wide range of careers in different NGOs, United Nations, law commissions, and they also, if they would like to pursue academic careers as well. Our students feel very much supported by the amount of pastoral care, office hours, one-to-one tutorials that we provide. We aimed to create really close communities at the School of Global Studies, not only in our teaching and research, but also in our one-to-one interactions with students. And you can see that the reason why they choose their MA is because of the distinctive and interdisciplinary approach at Sussex, which makes it stand out amongst various degree programs. The final MA program that I will talk about in depth is the Social Development Program, which I do convene myself. In a nutshell, I would argue that the MA Social Development aims to understand the root causes of social inequalities in the world and aims to equip students with the skill they need to make a difference to achieve global social justice. Often, mainstream development policies and projects are looking at the world through the lenses of economic growth, how to achieve economic growth, how to increase like GDP per capita. What we are trying to do is really to go beyond economic indicators and pay particular attention to social indicator. What are the global drivers of poverty and inequality? What are the social causes of conflict? What is the role of humanitarian aid in development? How can we design inclusive social development from below by learning from social movements, from women to indigenous groups? Similar to other MA programs, we have some core modules, the critical debates in development theory, which is taught by myself. And in this module, we are exploring major theoretical paradigms. So don't worry if you have never studied any theory of development before. We are designing our modules in a way to make it accessible to everyone. And apart from theoretical perspectives, we are also experimenting with innovative, fresh ideas to build alternative development policies from below by benefiting from radical contemporary ideas of development. And the other core module is Concept of Social Development, who is taught by our head of department, Evan Killick, who have expertise of working with indigenous communities in Amazon, and he explores poverty, inequality, education, health, microcredit, social enterprise every single week by working closely with students. Again, we have spring term optional modules, which you can see on that list, similar to other MA programs. Many of our graduates are also taking jobs in UNICEF, in UN, in NGOs, in International Labour Organization, and other development organizations. And you can see some examples here. And you will hear soon from Tala Hassoun, who is one of our graduates. So I will not kind of go into details of the students on their words because we can listen. And to finish, I want to also briefly mention other MA programs in development studies which sit in our school, which are taught by the departments of geography and anthropology. In anthropology, we have MA Anthropology for Global Development Practice. In geography, we have a program, MA Migration and Global Development, and geography also shares with Institute of Development Studies a program, MA Food and Development, which Priya will also briefly talk about. MA Migration and Global Development is similar to the other MA programs in development. It explores an understanding of the migration policies, development strategies, and humanitarian responses, with core modules in the autumn term, Migrants and Society, Migration and Global Development, and it is a wide range of options to choose from. And the graduates are working in different development organizations specializing in migrants and refugees. Whereas Anthropology for Global Development Practice aims to explore deeply at a macro scale the experiences of those who are most affected by global challenges and use this deep knowledge in a development career. In the autumn term, there are core modules like Thinking Like an Anthropologist and Anthropology for Development. And then in the spring term, they also share lots of optional modules with us. And you can see here a list of dissertation titles, such as Volunteer Humanitarianism Across Closed Borders, British Grassroots Organizations in the Jungle Refugee Camp of Calais. If you would like to contact us as MA conveners to explore further our MA programs, here's a list of the emails, and we can kind of share also. We can respond to different questions. If you can think about questions after the webinar and you would like to explore more. Thank you for your time, and I think I will close here, and I will turn to our alumni to ask some questions about their experiences, if that is okay, Isabel.
Perfect, thank you. I don't know who wants to go first, Priya and Tala.
I think what I was thinking is I have 4 questions, and I think for each questions they can respond together. It's more productive that way, if it's okay.
Absolutely, that sounds great.
Okay.
So we've had some questions in the Q&A box. So if anyone has recently joined, please add your questions in the Q&A, in the chat, or you can even request to kind of raise your hand, and then we should be able to give you permissions to be able to ask your question verbally to us if that's what you'd prefer to do. But unless there's anything kind of additional that Priya or Tala want to share with everyone, they did an introduction at the beginning. We'll just jump in with the questions in that case, if that's all right. So we'll start with the first question, which was from Scarlett, and it's, what did you do during your master's in terms of extracurricular, joining external, so other lectures that helped you with employment after graduating? And I think questions about employment is certainly that's the number one question that I get wherever in the world I am, completely understandably. So Tala and Priya, I don't know who wants to start on that one. Did you want to add something, Demet?
No, after the question from Scarlett, I would also like to ask some questions to the alumni to kind of like, support structure their talk, if that is okay. But we can start with Scarlett.
Sorry, I've jumped the gun there a bit.
No, not at all.
So just great. So yeah, Dala and Priya, if either of you are able to share if there was any sort of extracurricular things that you did as part of your master, alongside your masters that really helped you get your job that you have.
Yeah, happy to give it a go. Well, great question, Scarlett. Maybe I'm just going to give you a brief example. Like Sussex always arrange those kind of workshops during the master's time. Lots of time that you can get really meet some alumni and then learn about their experience, but also having some professional workshops. And I remember this one workshop that Sussex did with IDS around participation, and it was one of the workshops that is really the whole, like we did this 10 years ago, and now the whole sector is really about locally led and localization. It was with Dr. Robert Chambers, and it was with the IDS and Sussex, and it was one of the things that stayed with me for really long. And now the whole sector is really about shifting power to the communities that we work with and localization, locally led. So it was very, very relevant, and I learned a lot of the things that we discussed in the workshop. So there's lots of opportunities for workshops and practical discussions and sessions with which I made sure I attended basically, I think every single one of them. Just wanted to give that example and see if Priya would like to add anything.
No, but I think, well, maybe we can move to Demet's question, because I think Scarlett's second question will be answered also by my intro. So maybe we can weave in some of the answers, because it's a good question as well.
Is that okay, Isabel, that I move forward and then we can take more questions from the audience? Thank you.
That's perfect.
So I have four brief questions. So if you could answer first of all, Priya and then Tala. Why did you choose Sussex rather than another university? And what were the highlights of your time studying with us?
Sure, I can start us off. So I chose Sussex because I had actually studied international development in my bachelor's degree. And to answer Scarlett's question, I was looking for a little bit of specialization in my master's. I thought international development is very good. I touched a lot of topics in my bachelor's, and I'd like to dive into one. And I was passionate about sustainable agriculture. So I thought this is a good choice for my master's. So I found the program, and of course the #1 ranking of Sussex played into my decision. And I went down the agriculture and food systems path, and I've been there ever since. So to answer Scarlett's question, I mean, also agriculture is very broad, but I would say yes, in my case, it did help me. I think it does also help to try in your dissertation or in the courses you take to find some niche that, of course, you can figure different things out. You can explore what interests you. But in my case, I ended up diving into agriculture, finding for my dissertation topic specifically agroforestry, which is a form of sustainable agriculture. And then my first job at FAO was exactly that. So this was quite linear and direct. And I have to say that, I mean, I got lucky, and the master's at Sussex really got me exactly where I wanted to go. And there are different paths to get there. But I studied food systems. I started to work at FAO, and now I started in the headquarters in Rome, and now I'm in the regional office in Asia and the Pacific. So a little bit closer to the field and what we studied in the master's. In the headquarters, it was a little bit more removed, more linked to research and looking into the topic. And now I'm more involved in projects. So I'll stop there, but we can discuss further.
Tala, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So when I decided, well, basically the reason I wanted to do my master's in social development is because I used to work in the UN system before doing my MA, and I wanted to upgrade because obviously, as you heard as part of the presentation, sometimes you need to have those kind of degrees that can help you in your career. And I was looking for a master's that can help me with that, and I picked the social development master's with Sussex. I think Priya already shared lots of the things that I wanted to say, but just to add a bit more more thoughts into that. Why Sussex? It felt different from the moment I looked into it. There was something about the campus, being surrounded by the nature, being close to Brighton, having the city on your doorstep, that all kind of energy and creativity that just make you feel that it's a place to reflect and think and breathe, not only to study, but it's really to have kind of that space to reflect. But beyond the settings, of course, the reputation and being the first in the world in the development study, but also the reputation for independent thinking that what drew me in. Sussex has always had this culture of questioning things, not just accepting the status quo, and that really matched how I wanted to approach my study. So that was one of the main reasons that I picked Sussex.
Thank you. I think I will just join the second and third questions to make it coherent. How did your education help you to develop your career path and take the job that you have now? I know Priya partially answered that, but also how do you use the skills and knowledge that you learned at Sussex in your current job? What is the connection between both? Again, we can start with Priya.
Sure. Yes. Maybe I can also walk the prospective students through a little bit how I got there, because I actually started as an intern at FAO while I was doing my dissertation. So how did my education help me develop it? I mean, I applied for an internship. I was aware of these opportunities thanks to Sussex. And I'm sure that my educational background and the skills I learned in the year of the master's definitely helped and helped me also be hired full-time after the internship. And in terms of the skills that I use, so as I mentioned, I mean, when I was working in our headquarters, where we work a lot on global knowledge products and technical guidance, I mean, it was, of course, not exactly like academia, but I did have to use a lot of the same skills of synthesizing scientific knowledge, transforming it into different accessible formats depending on the audience, because in our case, sometimes it's farmers when you're working at the project level, sometimes it's policymakers, etc. So adapting technical, academic, scientific knowledge to different audiences, which I still do today. And another thing that to echo what Tala said, and the way Sussex approaches development, it is really unique. And it's something that I feel that maybe not all of my colleagues, especially the ones coming from more hard science backgrounds, don't necessarily have. So I feel that helps me in the everyday, keeping the people-centered, bottom-up approaches in mind, especially in sectors that are not necessarily having that, because also at FAO, we're talking about agricultural statistics, forest monitoring, more higher level work that doesn't necessarily come with the real kind of community-based thinking. So, yeah.
Thank you, Priya. Tala?
Yeah, sure. I would say that Sussex had helped me figure out what that path, the career path that I wanted. There's always, different between the learning facts that you learn in the class and learning how to think. And while Sussex has helped me with both, I think it leaned heavily into the latter. I came out of the degree not just with the knowledge in my subject, but more with the ability to analyze a problem, to structure an argument, to communicate ideas clearly. And those skills are the ones that travel. And those show up in your job application, in interview, in the work itself. So when it came to applying for jobs, I won't pretend that it was the most easy and straightforward thing. But what my time at Sussex gave me was the confidence in my thinking, the ability to walk into a room, write a cover letter, say, here's kind of the problem. Here's how I see the problem. And here's how, what I would do about it. So that was kind of what get me through the door. The other thing also, which is really important, I think this is one of the question, is about the thesis. I think the thesis is really important because it is your door into the job that you want to land. So when I picked my thesis, I picked it with something, of course, that I really interest a lot about and value a lot. But at the same time, I was thinking about, okay, how can I really learn those research skills that can really help me when I go into those job interviews, but also picking a subject that aligns with the job that I want to do. And my thesis was around the meaning of home for migrants in the UK. And I've done research, field research. And I think that really helped a lot in landing my first job in the UK.
Thank you, Tala. Yes, and I also would like to highlight that because I was supervising Priya's thesis, she wrote this fantastic dissertation where she also conducted primary data collection by doing interviews, and that's another way in which prospective applicants can think about making a difference. So the final question is very simple. What would you recommend to everyone who joined that webinar if they consider coming to Sussex for a postgraduate degree? What would be your recommendations? And not only about like education, but also thinking about future development career.
I can start again. I mean, I would echo what I said earlier about trying to think of specific, it's not subset, but topics already that interest you so that you could kind of use the master's as an opportunity to dig in. I would also say, I mean, the development sector now today, as you may or may not be aware, is changing. It doesn't mean it's all bad and it's disappearing. It's a changing time. So I think it's also a good opportunity to look into what's happening nowadays, trends that are changing. For example, blended finance, things like this. Traditional grants are not going to be the future of development. And use the master's as an opportunity to look into these more changing topics. And also in Demit's presentation, there was something about, I mean, the different skills that you can learn during the master's, like quantitative skills. This is big. I mean, this is something that I've seen people who have quantitative skills, GIS, etc., they're very much in demand. So if I could leave it at that, of course, you're not expected to know everything that you love and that you want to write your dissertation on from day one, but it's a good opportunity to also look at what's happening in today in the most recent articles, research papers, and see is there something that you could do during the master's that would kind of get you ahead of the curve. I would recommend that. And if I would go back and change, I would do that.
Thanks, Priya. Tala?
Yeah, I echo that, and maybe we'll just add a couple of other things. First, I would say get clear on your why, because development is a field that attracts a lot of people, and the ones who thrive are the ones who really have a genuine connection to the work, whether it's a lived experience or it's like a specific issue that you care deeply about or a community that you want to serve. Just knowing your why will keep you grounded. And then second, I would say, which I think this is really most important for me, is don't kind of underestimate the value of the people around you. Your cohort will likely be one of the most diverse, globally experienced group that you will ever be part of. Learn from them, have the conversation outside the classroom. Some of my most formative moments came from a conversation over a coffee, not a lecture. So really engage with others from your group. And then engage with the field early, because development isn't about simple solution. It's about navigating complexity, power. And as Priya said, the sector and the field is changing. So the sooner you get kind of comfortable sitting with those difficult questions and challenging your own assumptions, the better prepared you will be. And I would say that the last thing is, make the most of every opportunity the program offers. There's the placements, the research project, the guest speaker. Those are not extras. They are bridge between your studies and the real world out there. So the postgraduate is a real investment of time, energy, money. Go with intention and stay curious, and don't be afraid to let the experience just to change how you see things, because that's really where the value is.
Thank you. I think it's over to you, Isobel, to kind of continue from here.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. It's really nice to hear firsthand. I will just go through in time order. Just the fact that there is another webinar, which is in about 15 minutes time, and it covers possibly some of those things that people are asking about, to do with how to get a job in development, charities, and not for profit. So the link to that is in the chat box. And a question now. So did you find that picking a specialism, geographical, thematic, or both, that you researched throughout your essays gave you a good body of consistent work that made you more employable? Or is it better to study and write on a variety of topics during your master's? I wonder if mostly we've sort of covered this, but if there is anything, Priya or Tala, that you kind of want to add more specific to the wording of that question, then you're very welcome to. All good. Good, I'll just move on to the next one in that case.
I can respond to that, Isabel, because
Yeah.
like I'm advising so many students and I'm teaching intensively in the May program. I think what I can say is that I think many of the kind of students I've seen, the specialization chosen in the dissertation is important. But it's also nice, students find it really nice to kind of explore some different topics in autumn and the spring term. So that actually they can make a decision about specialization. Some people can be very, very focused about what they want. They may already have been specializing in some area like climate change or education or gender. So this means that they might choose their essay writing, their presentation in the first and second term around those areas. But other people might simply want to explore a bit more to figure out what they want. And I think both cases exist. So you explore different areas, you can write in different topics, and then in your dissertation, it is the kind of like the longest piece of work that you will be writing during the MA. So by then you can make the decision, and in both cases, your employability would be equally, I think, fine.
Out of interest, just generally speaking, if you think about your students coming through, what sort of percentage of them know this is exactly what I want to do in my dissertation, this is exactly what I want to study, and how many of them are unsure when they arrive?
I need to kind of look better at kind of like at my data to give an accurate answer. So, but maybe I should do that work. But I would perhaps say on top of my head, perhaps half. Some students are really, really driven because some of our students coming from different degrees will have already worked in some area of development and would like then to deepen their knowledge, to upgrade their skills for having jobs at a higher level. As I said, in selected areas. And some will have done some volunteer work, or some will come straight forward from undergraduate degree with a passion on that topic, and they would like to deepen their knowledge, after which they would like to decide. So I think, maybe 50-50.
Amazing. So students don't need to be worried if they don't know exactly what they want to do for their dissertation, because sometimes that's one of the concerns that people come to me. So hopefully that provides some reassurance if there was anyone worried about that one.
Absolutely. And can I also add that as conveners, we are discussing a lot with our students different paths that they want to explore after taking their, for example, first term modules. So hesitation, ambivalences are part of a learning process. And we are there to support students. They make their final decisions, but we are there to support them.
Amazing, thank you so much. And then there's a question about, I suppose, the interplay between IDS and global studies. So the question is, how much of the expertise and skill development in IDS is available for the MAs in the School of Global Studies?
Okay, thank you for the question. Because I'm not doing this webinar with my colleagues from the IDS, I wouldn't like to say something on their behalf, if it's okay. But I would like to say from the perspective of global studies, First of all, many of quite a lot of research and professional expertise exist in the School of Global Studies as well. And we collaborate on a number of ways. We are doing the Sussex Development Lectures together. Some of our researchers are working in research projects with researchers and teachers at the IDS as well. We are sharing some programs, as in the case of the Food and Development MA program. But also when you in the overarching number one kind of like ranking that we are sharing it with them. So our head of school is always like working closely with the IDS in order to kind of think about, the future prospects and, how we can collaborate more. So I would say that there's always this kind of like synergy between the two institutions. And our students and IDS students are also kind of like interacting. For example, the core theory module that I'm teaching hosts different MA programs, and different MA program students have a chance to kind of like interact, do group presentations together, learn from each other. Yes, so I think it's enough for saying that. Isabel, I think you are muted.
Thank you. Sorry. The next question I'll just ask because I'm conscious of time. So this one is from Alexander, and it's about transitioning to a PhD. And for dissertations with work placements, how does a student pursue that option? So I don't know. Is that something you're able to take, Janet?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yes, we are MA students who might want to do a PhD straightforward after the MAs, or who would like to go and do some work experience and then return as PhD to Sussex or to other places too, as well. Perhaps Priya can comment on that too. So if there are, and there have been cases in which me as an MA convener have encouraged some students whom I think would, could be great candidates for a PhD. I encouraged them, I supported them as well, other colleagues too. So they can, if you ask about Sussex, Sussex is offering a number of PhD programs in development and other disciplines. And we are part of a scholarship program for the Southeastern universities of the UK called CEDARC. So it is possible to apply for a PhD and to apply for the scholarships and others. And then you have to, submit a research proposal. And then you have to take the consent of like 2 supervisors who are willing to co-supervise your PhD. In certain cases, the PhD proposal can come from a topic developed during the MA, but sometimes the PhD topic can be very different from the MA proposal as well, because perhaps you will kind of like explore either after your MA, you will work in some area and you will want to deepen more academic knowledge related to that area, or you come up with something new. So there are all kinds of differences in the way in which someone might start a PhD. But in general, you submit a proposal, and if you would like to be qualified for scholarship, so one thing that I would recommend is that you need to start early. Although the PhD programs receive proposals throughout the whole year, if you would like to apply for scholarships at Sussex and beyond in other parts of the UK, you would like to start preparing it early so that you can submit your proposals during the autumn term. That is something that I would like candidates to be mindful of. Priya, do you want to talk about your own kind of journey about possibility of doing a PhD yourself?
Sure, I can, although I think your advice is more relevant to those wanting to transition because I decided to start a PhD 5 years after finishing the master's. So not exactly the direct track, continuing academia, but of course, I needed the MA. In my case, I had a Canadian bachelor's degree, and I needed, you need an MA to do a PhD. So yes, I mean, I was able to start a PhD and get accepted into a part-time PhD program, thanks to my MA from Sussex. But I'm doing it as on the side of my work. So it's a little bit different. I'm not jumping back into academia. But of course, yes, hopefully I'll remember all the great skills that I learned writing the dissertation with Demet, which was really great. And I'll have to get my brain back into action because I'm just starting the PhD now. But of course, yes, the skills are transferable, and the degree is what you need to be accepted into a PhD program.
Thank you. I've also put in it's a written answer to Alexander's question about the pursuing the work placements. There's a link to a session that we recorded 3 years ago now. So that's in the Q&A, and I'll just put that in the chat as well, because that will potentially be a useful bit of further reading for everyone as well. And then I think that is all of our questions. So we finished perfectly on time, unless I'm missing anything. But I think that's all the questions there. That was wonderful, and it's so lovely to hear firsthand from our alumni and from yourself as well, Demet, as the convener. Thank you everyone who has joined from home. You will get an email tomorrow which has the recording, and if you need any further information, obviously please do get in touch with us, and we're really happy to help. And that's it. I will also I hope that those of you who are joining the session at 2 p.m. On work in this particular sector enjoy that session. Thank you very much, and yeah, I'll say goodbye. Thank you, everyone. See you later. Bye.